So let's get started with Mike Polivin, who asked, Da Vinci, if you would have the chance to speak with Michael Saylor, what would you ask? Just don't forget to press the record button when you interview him.
Exactly, I know. If I had a chance to speak with Michael Saylor, what would I ask? Well, I would. There's a lot of questions I have in mind, but I would ask. Okay, so you're going to be holding a Bitcoin for 100 years, right? And then you see people are just going to borrow off the Bitcoins. Um, using the fiat standard, right? Our current monetary standard of borrowing through the printing press, right? Do you ever see a future where the printing press, where we can actually go to the stop going? We will not be able to go to the printing press to print more money to borrow it into existence, right? Do you see a future like that? Because as we continue, the problem is what I see is as we continue in that front, people will continue to borrow against their Bitcoin, inflating the price ever so much into infinity, and eventually wiping out the currency that we currently use. So, what do you see that as our future? And if you do, when do you see that happening? Right, and that's that. That's the question I would ask him. All right, next question.
Like that. So the next one is going to be from Kip Allen. He asked, how do you think Ethereum dynamics will play out with miners opposing EIP 1559 and of course Ethereum 2.0?
I have concerns about EIP 1559, and my current concern is right. When you have market forces, right, that determine the price of a good, right, and then you stop, you go, no, for the good of the public, we're going to control that. What tends to happen?
Everything goes to crap, right?
Yeah, what happens, right, is that when you have distortions in the market, things start to fall apart. So, for example, right, if you set the price of milk or food, then there becomes what's called shortages, right? Because the producers, right, are not getting enough money to cover their costs and loss, and so they end up not producing, and then there's shortages, right? So with this particular new feature, right? New thing where there's no market-based incentive to for transactions. I'm a little concerned, right? Even if they come up with a programmed-in market-based programmed-in incentive, where the fees are programmed to go higher automatically, the problem is, right? Only I know how much the value of a transaction is that I'm willing to pay. So, for example, if the whole what's it called? Their whole pipe is clogged, right? The system is not gonna have a way of saying, well, maybe we. There you are. Okay.
At least on Twitch.
Yeah, looks like it. But what about
YouTube? YouTube? Not. We're back up.
Okay. So without market-based incentives to determine whether or not my transaction is more important than somebody else's transactions, will result in the fact that a really important transaction will not go through, and that will cause a negative effect on what's it called, smart contracts, right? So that's a real problem, right? I think the right way to do is to drop this EP. Now that I really think about it, obviously nobody wants to pay high fees, right? I was really gung ho for them to do that, the EIP 1559, and now they're probably going to go through with it because I'm sure they're not going to listen to what I have to say. And it will probably seem to be okay for a while, but eventually that might break down, right? And depending on how much, obviously, bandwidth they have, right? Um, it might take a while before it breaks down, right? Before you notice it, right? Because when government, like for example, right? When government does something, right? That without thinking about their market dynamics, right? It tends to at first seem to be logical and work at first, and then over time it makes the situation worse. For example, the queen asked. There's a queen that wanted everybody. They had a rat problem, right? And so they said, okay, the queen was going to pay you a certain amount of money for each amount of rat tails that you brought in to the queen, right? To prove that you killed them, right?
Don't
And
tell
what
me they
happened?
don't tell me they
What
start
happened?
forming details.
They started breeding rats. At first, the rats were getting killed off a lot, right? But then, after a while, after a lot of the rats got killed off because they were everywhere, and so people started killing off rats to get paid, right? Eventually, they killed off the rats, and it was like realized, wait a second, we don't have any more revenue, and so they started breeding the rats. So, yeah, and then the rat problem increased even exponentially, right? So this is why, right? I'm like looking at this EIP 1559 and thinking, maybe it's not such a good idea. Even though I would love lower fees, just love it. I think we should find another way than making it a forceful thing. Let the market provide more space so that the market goes, okay, fine, I will clear. We have more space, so the value of the transaction comes back down. So less people transacting, the lower price, right? So if you or if you open up the pipes, so that's what they're going to do. But you know, ZK rollups, I think, is what they're going to do, right, to reduce the number of transactions, right? Basically, they're going to do a lot of off-chain action and then post it all at once on the chain, and I think that makes more sense than actually dictating prices of transactions. Just my 2 cents on worth. All right, next question. That was a long one.